Welcome back in live to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We are getting into our bowl previews, and we are starting with none other than the two teams that we really know best: Georgia Bulldogs, Michigan State college football playoff semifinal.
Michigan State.
That's
It's
it.
Michigan,
I
dude.
said that's
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Michigan, and there is not a much hotter team than the Michigan Wolverines. You're so angry. I mean, it is so loud.
So angry.
Yeah, that's fair. There's not much a hotter team than Michigan Wolverines. Blowing out Ohio State by 15 points and then absolutely blowing the doors off Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. They're looking really good against the Georgia team that was really the number one overall team in the country for the whole year, pretty much. The team that we picked to win the national championship game. They showed some serious troubles against Alabama in the SEC championship game, a team that they really haven't been able to overcome in a long, long time. Dill, what are your initial feelings about this game? What do you think the matchups are to look at? Let us know.
What I am most concerned about on the Michigan side is them falling into a trap of being a little stale on offense and trying to maybe stick too much to like an inside run game, because that is going to be very tough sledding with the Dogs. And I get that Michigan's done it pretty good, but I don't think that's going to be a good recipe if they get too preoccupied into doing it and get stuck in just having way too many third and longs. And again, Cade's going to have to play if that happens. Like, obviously, you're putting a lot on Cade's shoulders, and he really hasn't shown to be that guy. Not wildly consistent or impressed by his ability to take a game over himself.
No.
Although he can play really well complementary football.
Yeah.
Really a little concerned, just most on that side of the ball. That
a little bit concerning too about the mobility, because Bryce Young really showed his ability to
yeah.
get out of trouble. Give his receivers a second or two to find some space. Cade McNamara will not be able to do that very well. Pretty much not at all. And I kind of agree. I think Michigan's MO for most of the year has been body blows. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of the term body blows, because, like, what are you going to waste offensive possessions doing body blows? That being said, it's worked well for Michigan. Hassan Haskins, 220-pound back, runs the ball extremely hard downhill behind his pads. And you've seen it work against Penn State. At the second half, he was just kind of – it seemed like he kind of drained.
Yeah.
And so my only problem is I don't think that's a great recipe for Georgia, which is –
deep front seven, physical and really aggressive. Yeah.
I mean, the best linebacker in the country, and Kobe Dean, probably the best nose tackle, defensive tackle, and Jordan Davis. And probably the next, Jalen Carter and Devontae Wyatt are also in the top 10 defensive tackles in the country. So it's going to be tough sledding for them. I guess looking at that side of the ball first, that Michigan offense first, that Georgia defense, you said it in the pre-show, misdirection is going to be big. I kind of agree with you. I'll let you kind of take the reins on that. What do you see in that?
Yeah, and so I think you have seen Michigan be able to implement that really well. Reverses and end around kind of plays have worked. AJ Henning's been really good there. Really good athlete with the ball, and really has a good knack, I feel like, for getting uphill and not going out too deep or stretching plays too wide. So I think he's been really good there, as much as he maybe hasn't shown a ton of consistency as a true wideout. Granted, I think he can be – it's not like he comes in, he's going to get the ball. Like, he can run his routes and do his thing. But where he's really shined is there. So against that aggressive defense, especially those linebackers, like, they fly to the ball. So maybe try to get them moving one way and come back the other way kind of situation with them might be a shot we have. It worked for Kentucky, if we – remember their only real drive of offensive effectiveness.
Yeah, it was that, and that
they were whipping misdirection almost every play, and it basically worked every play.
Kentucky's strategy to break that Georgia defense was like, we're just going to try to throw it to Wendell Robinson in space and see what he can do.
Yeah, throw screens, like throwbacks, all sorts of things.
Like it was like I think it might have 20 plus touches total. He was getting the ball like any way they possibly could get that dude the ball. They did. Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll be able to give Cade time without Adam Anderson. That was an extremely big loss for them, and so I don't know how effectively they definitely didn't effectively rush the passer against Alabama.
That's not even a good offensive line. They
No.
had been struggling against LSU and Auburn, and
Yeah, and I
they
mean,
locked him up.
like Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith's a good football player, but he's not a great pass rusher off the edge.
No,
Jordan
I don't
Davis
think
is
he
not
is.
a great pass rusher. He's normally not in on those third downs anyways. And Devonta Wyatt and Jalen Carter can certainly do their thing. So we'll have to make sure we take care of them up front. But if we can get Cade some time, I think screens are another thing to maybe look at. You kind of talked about it. Very, very aggressive defense. They like to blitz that A gap with their linebackers. Slip out Blake Corum, slip out Donnie Edwards, get them in some space. I think that's like your best chance of kind of getting some big plays. And at the end of the day, we need some of those explosives because I don't see us driving the ball 15 plays, 10.
Yeah, nobody's done that. Not even Bama wasn't doing that. They hit some big plays.
You got to hit the explosives, which is a thing Michigan's actually done pretty well considering. And I think a lot of it does, like you establish that good run, bring those safeties in and get it over the top with some speedster wideouts and some big body Cornelius Johnson wideouts. So
and Cade throws a decent deep ball, I think, in timely situations. So
yeah,
he's got to be good there. Hopefully he can.
How much
we do have some fast wideouts.
How much JJ do we see? 10?
I honestly think I think you might. I think you might see closer to like a 60-40 JJ split. I actually think we're going to see a lot of JJ. I think what Bryce Young did to Georgia was utilize his legs and get the ball down the field. And that's basically what JJ's shown he can do, is utilize his legs and get the ball down the field.
Well, JJ, when he comes in, doesn't really throw the ball that much. So we'll see if
he doesn't, but like the times he's thrown the ball, he throws down. You think when he came in against Ohio State, he hit Roman Wilson up the sideline for a 30-yard pass.
Yep.
Hit Dalen Baldwin for a bomb against Wisco. So you do know he's got the bigger arm. He can push the ball more effectively than Cade if he's being consistent. And obviously we haven't had the chance to see him be consistent, but
there's one play that like he fumbled the ball. He fumbled a handoff. And we're not really sure if that's on Blake or JJ. It probably was on JJ.
Jim said it was on Blake, but
at the end of the day, like that was the only play that has been really that negative. He does a great job at holding those DNs so they can't crash down as much because they got to respect him pulling the ball. That opens up our run game a lot. So those are a few of those keys that we see how Michigan can kind of exploit that Georgia defense. That's really good. And a lot of times, some of the best drives will be get a couple first downs and let's pin that Georgia defense back and play field position because at the end of the day, that's make Georgia
it's probably gonna be
drive the field. So let's flip over, talk about that Georgia offense for a minute against this Michigan defense. The number one question I'm seeing a lot of Georgia fans on Twitter that have interacted with us have been talking about. Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels? I'll tell you my personal lean. I think JT Daniels gives you a little bit more, and we probably disagree on this, but JT Daniels has that pedigree. He's that 5-star pedigree. He's played in a lot of big college and high school football games, and has showed the ability to make those plays. Has a very good arm. He's very accurate. So we'll see what they decide to do. They kind of went with Stetson because they were winning, and it's kind of like we're winning every game by 30. Why are we going to change what we got to do? But a lot of Georgia fans are saying, well, guess what? You can beat a Florida team that stinks. You can beat a South Carolina, or you can beat a kind of average SEC team with Stetson. I could probably get a win or two as a quarterback at Georgia if I had to. I mean, that team's just so good.
Yeah, they've been running teams off the field. So
and you beat a Michigan. Where are you leaning? Who do you think we're gonna see trot out, and who would you trot out?
I think Stetson's still gonna get the ball. in my opinion, I think people acting like there's some massive gap between the two. JT Daniels really he's played enough football, I think, to get a sense on how good or not good he is. He hasn't been wildly impressive. He got to start the whole Clemson game. Obviously, they didn't even score an offensive touchdown, and I get that they were not exactly opening the playbook up for him, but I don't know. It's I don't think we're picking between a Justin Fields anymore when people could realistically clamor, oh, we got a real star waiting in the wings. It's we're looking at JT Daniels. This guy couldn't make it at USC. Now he's trying his hand at Georgia. So it's you're not looking at an all pro quarterback waiting in the wings. So I think we're still going to see Stetson. I think that matches up okay for Michigan. I think he's a ball holder. He doesn't get rid of the ball all the time, and he'll take his sacks. So
I mean, he that first drive that Georgia had too in that SEC championship game, stared down a receiver. I believe it was Jordan Battle. Read it, had two hands on it, would have gone for 6. Would have gone all the way back, hit his head on the goalpost. Dropped it, couldn't come up with it. But yeah, Stetson's shown that kind of I'm gonna stare down a guy, I'm gonna hold the ball, and some of those turnovers.
And they couldn't get in. They couldn't get into establishing the run against Bama. They ran it okay, but they really didn't establish the run, so that hurts them. Just like it kind of hurts Michigan when they put Cade into a corner and he needs to throw the ball a ton.
There's not besides Stetson maybe being more athletic. There's not a ton of differences between those two guys. They're both kind of
Stetson turns the ball over though. Legitimately, Cade never does. In fairness to him.
So that's an interesting matchup. Another one you talked about is Georgia going to be able to run the ball in Michigan. Michigan has had a solid front seven most of the year. Michigan State. Sorry about that. But yeah, Justin. I don't know. We'll see if Georgia can get that run game going against Michigan. Kenneth Walker's.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's really had 2 games where they've kind of been not exposed, but given up some rushing yards, and that's Nebraska and Michigan State. And Nebraska did it with a combo of QB run, but they also were able to push a little bit up front and get some gash plays on Michigan. So obviously going to have to tame that. I think Ohio State had been running the ball really well, and Michigan was really tight against them and stopped Penn State pretty well. So I like the direction we've been going, working Donovan Jeter in. He's been adding a third guy who's played really effectively at the defensive tackle spot. And as Colston's gotten more experience and reps, he's played better and better. So
one more matchup, two more matchups I kind of want to talk about. One, Aiden Hutchinson on Jamari Slayer, who is a guard, but stepping in for that tackle spot for Georgia. Does not have great length. I think he only goes about 6'3", 325. Can Hutchinson use that length, get his hands on him early and win out there? I certainly like that. I don't love that matchup because Jamari Slayer is a solid football player.
He has been good. He did a good job against Anderson too.
He did a very good job against Anderson. That's one of them, and obviously Hutchinson is going to be a massive matchup for any team that we're playing. Can he get a sack or two, get a strip sack, make a play like he has done the last couple games for us in those big games? 2, what are we doing with Brock Bowers? We don't know how much we'll see George Pickens, if at all. I mean, I think we'll see him. We'll see the capacity we see him in. He really only played maybe 10 snaps against Alabama, and he was targeted 2 or 3 times, caught that big ball for an explosive down the field. A guy I love George Pickens. So we'll see how much we see. But the guy I'm most nervous about is Brock Bowers. I mean, he's been tearing it up in the SEC. Who are we going to kind of go? We don't play as much man as we did with Don Brown last year, but who are we going to be lining up over him? Who's our best chance at kind of slowing this freak down?
Yeah, I mean, presumably it's going to be Dax. He's been the
best player.
Kind of plays that spot where that slot where pretty much Bowers is generally lined up, and And Dax is he's a pretty big guy. I mean, he's got to be around 6 foot, 200 pounds, so he's not small.
He's got a big frame. You know what I mean? He's like 6'1", long. And so I don't think this, like, the physicality might be a problem, but the size won't.
But that'll be a problem for everybody. So there's not much you can do.
Yes, and Dax Hill's very, very sticky for the most part. We saw those Ohio State wide receivers get the best from a little bit, but they're the best in the game against separation. Jahan Dotson a few times against Penn State, but we are putting Dax Hill a lot of times on some of the best players on the opposing team's offense.
And what he did do is he did do a good job against the tight ends of Nebraska, and that's probably the best tight end unit we've played because Ohio State doesn't use Rucker, and he's basically a non-factor, and really nobody else in the Big Ten has a tight end to challenge. The only team that did a little bit was Penn State, and that was mostly hitting balls up the seam, so it wasn't like a man coverage problem. They just were able to beat the zone going up the seam. So could be in that, but it's not like that was a consistent issue. Laporta had an okay start, but they locked him up too at Iowa. So I don't know. We haven't been getting killed by tight ends generally, so I'm not. Granted, we've seen no Brock Bowers, obviously. He's probably the best tight end in the country right now. We're playing that way, so.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. That's definitely one to keep your eyes on.
Really, the thing I'm most I think Georgia's quarterbacks, especially Stetson, if it's him, they hold the ball way too long. Stetson takes way too many sacks in my mind, relies too much on athleticism to get out of things, and he does an okay job. But if you're holding the ball too much against Michigan, you're going to have your problems. So I'm hoping we can force him into that.
There'll be one other thing I want to mention, and I think it's something that is definitely undervalued in a lot of people's minds, and probably your mind, and you're probably going to make fun of me for saying it, but it's probably going to be a low-scoring game. Jake Camarda, I believe that's his name for that Georgia punter. Whenever I watch Georgia, he is pinning guys inside the 10 every time. He is probably the second best punter in the league behind that kid from San Diego State. Very, very talented punter. And special teams is going to play a factor. I'm not saying there's going to be a big explosive punt return, but pinning them inside the 5 versus inside the 20 is big. Iowa did it to Michigan, and we went 3-and-out like 3 straight drives because we kind of puckered up in the shadow of our own goal line. But that's going to be something to keep an eye on. You know, he's a very good punter. Had a few good punts against Alabama.
And you're right. Henning has to be better just managing like punts. Like he was catching balls on the goal line. Like, come on.
Yep. So we'll see how that plays out. That'll be one more interesting thing to keep an eye on. We're not going to give any picks for this game just because we're both Michigan guys. We're not gonna like. It wouldn't be right. We're just kind of giving you our thoughts and opinions. I think it's going to be a good game. I do think the spread of 7.5 is
stupid.
I don't love it. I think it's
haters.
going to be close. Like, I don't think it's going to be that high scoring game. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it's going to come down to who can make a play in the fourth quarter. Take that as you.
I think they got the Georgia wrong. I don't think they've played that great of a schedule. Like, yeah, they've been dominant, but they've been playing really weak teams. So.
And we saw them when they played a good team. Kind of struggles.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun game. I can't wait. December 31st.
So excited.
We'll be back with some more videos. We're kind of going on and off with some bowl previews, going on and off with some draft stuff too. So the content's going to keep rolling out, so keep your eye for it. And we'll, as always, appreciate you guys being with us. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.